as you mentioned, Stetson comes in with the top pitching staff in the Atlantic Sun Conference. It's not even a question if you look at the numbers. But on the other side for FGCU, Mario Leon, a little bit of tough luck his last outing getting the loss, but actually pitched pretty well in that, actually pitched very well in that game last Friday night versus UNF. Went 6 2/3 inning, allowing just 2 earned runs. Tough luck loser in that. And his previous start versus Kennesaw State, he went 7 1/3, only allowing 1 earned run. So he's been pretty good. You see Richie Garcia at third base for FGCU, playing in on the grass, trying to take away a bunt single opportunity for McNeil. Realistically, the regular season conference title is going to be pretty difficult. A lot of what you want to do is, of course, get into the tournament, but position yourself to be seated high in that tournament, as with just 6 teams making it, there really is a premium on those top seeds, much more so than most double elimination tournaments. Not a bad pitch by Leon there, just a good job by Spooner with 2 strikes to protect on the, looked like a low fastball out in the outside corner, stayed back on it and just lifted it into shallow left center field for a single. Coos can run a little bit. He's actually leading the team in stolen bases, which you don't see it all the time out of your 3-hitter, but would not be surprised to see a bunt in this situation.
Leon, a couple looks at second, comes home on the first pitch, and there is a bunt attempt, and he's unable to get it down. That's strike 1.
Leon and Brait aware of that, electing to go with the off-speed pitch, which is a little tougher pitch to bunt, and a good curveball by Leon, quality curveball by Leon, that time getting the strike on the call. And now Coos in a very difficult spot, not just down 0-2, but hasn't even seen the fastball from Leon. Throws a fastball up here, it'd be pretty tough for him to kind of react and catch up to it.
Well, there it is, a fastball upstairs, and Coos able to lay off.
It's an excellent job by Eagles catcher Alex Brait to knock that ball down, keep it right in front of him, and keep the runners held at first and second. Also, Christian Profit at short had been holding on McNeil actively, as you see there. Excellent curveball by Mario Leon, freezing Coos on the 2-2 to get the strikeout, and all 3 strikes on that at bat came on the curveball. So Leon really showing a pretty good feel for the pitch early on. Coffers was back, and it actually looked like he had run it down and was in a position to make the play. Unfortunately, goes kind of off the heel of his glove, and really fortunate it didn't end up over that green home run line on the top of the fence. And Arenas leads the team in strikeouts with 45. So pretty good candidate up there if you're Leon.
The 1-2 is
Leon goes with the curveball down and away, gets Arenas to chase it just enough. You see that live fastball as Coffers chases it a little high, and just like that, add to that strikeout total. Excellent swing by Alex Brait, who through a tough weekend for the Eagles, actually swung a really hot stick, was one of the few bright spots last weekend versus UNF. He had 2 3-hit games, was 3 for 5 on Saturday, 3 for 4 on Sunday, and then 1 for 3 versus Miami in the midweek. So he's really been locked in here lately and taking the low outside fastball and just drilling it down that left field line to tie this game at 1. Certainly has the ability to keep FGCU in this, and Stetson, keep these Stetson bats kind of cool as they've been relative to the rest of the league all season. At the top of FGCU's rotation, all 3 starters you're going to see this weekend really have the ability to kind of go pitch for pitch with Stetson. Some of the, the important thing is going to be how deep can they go in these games, and 1, 2, 3 innings like we should have here are going to be important.
Soft roller to first, handled by again. Pulls it back, and that one does catch the zone at the very bottom for strike one.
That's a pitch Christian Prophet needs to be a little more aggressive on. You're up there to sacrifice and get the bunt down, and that's a pitch low that really is the type of pitch you're looking for to bunt.
Here with Gilbert. The 1-0 is a huge curve that's in for strike one.
And a nice job by Gilbert making an adjustment on the curveball, missing the first pitch high just up to Coffers, and makes the adjustment there for the first strike. Yeah, another curveball from Gilbert. Coffers unable to pull the trigger, and it's a difficult pitch. Especially when you're throwing 95, coming with that hard curveball. Jonathan Mayola, the third baseman. His father actually was the famous U.S. soccer goalkeeper, Tony Mayola. So he laces this out to left. Or actually didn't hit it as well as I thought he did, but in any event, it's over the head of Christian Prophet for a 2-out single. And he's going to take off. That's a pretty good read by Mayola on the curveball. Down from Leon. He was not running on the pitch, but saw it angled downward in the dirt and just took off. Not a bad job by Alex Brate keeping it in front of him, but Mayola with the 2 outs, taking a real aggressive approach. And ball and a strike as Hale grounds it to Garcia at third. Up with it and fires across to Elijah Eusebio to end the inning here in the top of the fourth. We've played 3.5 in Fort Myers. It's 1-1 with the Eagles coming up. Welcome back to Swanson Stadium in Fort Myers. Thomas DiBenedetto alongside John Vitas in a 1-1 game in the fourth. We've seen several FGCU hitters trying their first time around to offering at those higher pitches and really not having much success. As the 0-2, you see there the high fastball swung on and missed by Alex Brate for the first out here in the bottom of the fourth. Putting the leadoff man on base, obviously you never want to do it, but it's so much easier to pitch around it when the majority of your outs almost come from strikeouts, where balls aren't put in play, giving base runners the opportunity to really move up without trying to steal a base. And behind the plate, you've got Austin Hale, who I mentioned earlier, has thrown out 65% of the runners on the season. So they're pretty strong, both on the mound and behind the plate, which makes it very difficult for teams that want to run to get in motion against them. Ball and 2 strikes. Laced over the third baseman, Jonathan Mayola, and around second, Garcia slides. It'll be runners on first and second for FGCU, and a great job by Cole Gilmore, baseman Elijah Eusebio for FGCU, who flew out to deep center his first at bat. Takes a curveball from Gilbert for strike one. Eusebio's first at bat swung through that curveball as he fouls this one back. He was behind in the count 0-1 his first AB, and Gilbert threw that curveball outside that Eusebio was looking for the fastball, swung right through it, tried to kind of get him to do that again this at bat, but a better job to recognize and lay off by Eusebio. But down in the count 1-2 here, swings through a curveball down in the dirt for strike 3 and the second out of the inning. And that curveball is just, it's a tough matchup. Again, going to the curveball to get ahead of Eli Lovell.
Now you could almost say curveball first pitch the way he's been using it, especially with guys on base.
Yeah, but, I mean, the problem is it's still not an easy pitch to hit, even if you are looking for it with that movement.
Not at all.
2 balls, 2 strikes, 2 outs here in the fourth. A 1-1 game between number 20 Stetson and Florida Gulf Coast University, as this one's lifted out to right. Back is Spooner there, and he will put it away for the ball. A freshman out of Stratham, New Hampshire. Actually went to Exeter High School and was committed to the University of Maine as he takes strike two, where Coach Steve Tripper, current Stetson head coach, was the head coach at Maine. He was his recruit, but when he took the job at Stetson, Kyle Ball followed him, and he is now in DeLand with two strikes, a little less likely to make hard contact and a little more likely to kind of roll one over to those infielders. And Eagles head coach Tillett going to kind of play those percentages a little bit. And Leon goes to the fastball up, gets him swinging for the first out here in the fifth. The first pitch to Coos misses outside for ball one. Jacob Coos, a junior, entered tonight hitting .272 with 17 extra base hits, including 3 home runs, leading the team in slugging. So he is the guy you want up there if you are the Stetson Hatters. The 1-0 to Coos. A beautiful curveball from Leon gets Coos to chase, even the count at 1. High save and low ERA, high strikeout numbers say it all. And offensively, he's put in some pretty good numbers as well, as he takes high for ball 4. And it will be runners at the corners for Stetson.
Well-deserved nomination for an awesome award with the Olerud Award.
Yeah, and you mentioned it earlier, the 14 extra base hits. That's as impressive as anything. He's not just finding holes, he's really putting charge into some balls. But runners on the corners for Foggo. First pitch swinging at the curveball, cues it down foul along the first base line. And a 2-1 game here in the fifth. Again, Leon trying to maneuver his way out of some trouble. Has given up the 1 run here in the fifth, but again, if he's able to keep it at just the 1 run, it's something you got to feel pretty good about as FGCU. Up 90 feet from first to second is Brooks Wilson. So 3-1 runner on second for Stetson. The 1-1 count to Eric Foggo is popped up. Leon should field this one, and he will. That will do it in the top of the fifth. Stetson gets a pair and opens up a 3-1 lead in Fort Myers. We played 4.5. 3-1. Back in Fort Myers, 9-1-2 coming up for the Eagles. Shortstop Christian Prophet leading things off against Logan Gilbert from Stetson, who, as advertised, has been dominant to this point. Fastball there to get ahead of Christian Prophet. Through just 4 innings of work, he has 8 strikeouts on the night, and continues to pump that hard fastball.
Working with Gilbert.
Curveball up, Coffers hits it in the hole, and Jorge Arenas on the backhand, able to fire across the diamond and get the speeding Coffers by a half step at first. This is high for ball 4. So with 2 outs, Gage Morey draws a walk, and the Eagles at least able to break up the rhythm, if nothing else, here in the fifth with the base runner with 2 outs.
Right.
As this one lifted out to left center, hit well. Oh, at the wall, Jacob Coos. No, he's not able to come down with it. And Richie Garcia is going to be into second base with a double. Gage Morey around to score. as Jacob Coos went back at the track, at first glance, it looked like he had it in his glove. Collided into that wall. I'm not sure if that jarred it loose or what, but in any event, it is a double for Richie Garcia, and the Eagles have cut the Stetson lead to 1. And Gilbert had really been cruising even this inning until the 4-pitch walk to Gage Morey, then fell behind Garcia with the first pitch, and Garcia then sitting fastball, give him credit, hit it well to left center and gets himself the RBI double as this is chopped to the first baseman. Fago flips to Gilbert, and that will do it in the 5th, but the Eagles get a run. It is 3-2 in Fort Myers after 5 on the ASUN Facebook Live network. Back in Fort Myers, Thomas DiBenedetto alongside John Vitas for this Friday night ASUN conference matchup between the FGCU Eagles and Stetson Hatters. Got a good one. It is 3-2 Stetson as we pick up the top of the 6th. It'll be Arenas, Mayola, and Hale for the Hatters as Mario Leon begins his 6th inning of work with a fastball swung on and missed for strike 1. Well, made the ASUN freshman team last year. Does a good job to foul off a tough curveball from Leon. The 1-2 to Arenas, grounded to Garcia. Up with it and throws across. Opened up the scoring a bit in the top half of the 5th. So this is grounded back to Leon. Takes it himself, jogs it over to Eusebio for the 2nd out of the inning. And that will bring up catcher Austin Hale, who takes called strike 1. Another nice curveball from Leon. The 0-0 to Kyle Ball, second baseman, misses down for ball 1. Ball 1 for 2 on the day, grounded out to short back in the 2nd. Singled, looped a ball into left back in the 5th. Ball getting just his 6th start of the season, so not a ton of playing time. Takes a called strike, but he's, to his credit, taken advantage of it. Just a freshman, but hitting .292 in just 24 at-bats, 7 for 24. If he had the at-bats to qualify, he'd be leading the Stetson team in average. Ball and a strike. Leon from the stretch. In for a called strike as count goes to 1-2 on Kyle Ball. Certainly done a nice job. Swings through this one as Leon gets him on the fastball. And that will do it for the top of the 6th. 3-2 Stetson. Eagles coming up on the ASUN Facebook Live network. Back on a windy night in South Florida as the FGCU Eagles get set to hit in the home half of the 6th. It's 3-2 Stetson. Thomas DiBenedetto alongside John Vitas. Gilmore skies this out to left. McNeil under it for the first out here in the 6th. To grind out at bats and see a few more pitches and maybe get him out of this game a little early is something I'm sure was in the FGCU game plan, and it's just so difficult when he's coming at you with 95 and a hard curveball and pretty much throwing it where he wants to all night. So he paints a 1-1 fastball in the outside corner to Eusebio. When you get up into these numbers, that's when you'll start to see the scouts get the radar gun back out and see where that pitch velocity is when he gets up into the 90s and pushes 100 pitches.
And you can bet.
Count goes to 1-2 on Eli Lovell.
Yeah, geez, and how about that block from Hale? He went far away to his right.
With no one on base. And he makes the adjustment, drops the curveball in, and that will be strike 3. Logan Gilbert cruising through this one. Score remains 3-2 after 6 on the Facebook Live ASUN network. Things getting a bit dicey as Spooner able to rope that through the right side. But at the beginning of the night, if you had said after 6 innings it'd be a 3-2 ball game, I think that's something FGCU would have taken. Real nice location by Hamilton, elevating that fastball just above the letters, and Arenas swinging right through it, really with no chance. Yeah, he had an opportunity at that. Backed by that protective netting up against the wall behind home plate. Austin Hale, certainly not an easy play, but a ball that came down in play that he had an opportunity to make, continuing to just come at him with that fastball and not exactly providing a whole lot of insight here, but he's just mowing these hitters down with it. One thing we have seen from Gilbert is he's changed up his plan of attack throughout this game, and
that one's fouled back on a fastball, strike 2.
As you saw, the first pitch, curveball low and away to Coffers after pretty much going right after Eric Gonzalez and Christian Profit here with fastballs. Coffers up there thinking maybe he's coming with another one. Just when you think, he drops a curveball outside that swings through for the first strike. It's a nice job by Mark Coffers after falling behind 0-2 to foul off a couple tough pitches and take a curveball there out into right field for the 2-out single. An excellent job coming in a tough spot last inning.
And another live fastball that beats Hale for strike 2.
Entered the game with runners on first and second, nobody out, and was able to pitch the Eagles out of trouble and keep the score exactly where the inning started at 3-2. Pretty impressive at bat from Austin Hale, really not offering at anything out of the zone against Hamilton, and finally getting himself into the 3-2 count and looking for the fastball, got it and did not miss it. And you already had the feeling that one run was going to be difficult, and now that it's 2, it really changes the dynamic of these final 6 outs for FGCU.
That win probability, if you will, really diminishes when the lead or the deficit stretches from 1-2.
And I would argue that the win probability goes down even more against Stetson than it does for most of these teams when it goes from 1-2 in the Atlantic Sun.
The 1-0 is at the knees for a strike. Well, we'll have to keep an eye on the forecast for Sunday. We may have to move that start time around just because of the forecast for rain. So stay posted. You can follow the updates on Twitter. FGCU Baseball, the place to be. The 1-1 is a changeup on the outside corner, strike 2 to McNeil.
You can also follow it on the Wings Up app, FGCU Wings Up app. I know I just downloaded earlier today and actually checked into the event, earned 25 points, working my way towards 100 points in a free drawstring backpack.
That one's outside for ball 2. If you play your cards right, they may let you into a basketball game here. Here, those are a tough ticket.
Well, I tell you what, 25 points today, 25 tomorrow, and they're giving away 50 points on Sunday.
Have the points closed for tonight? I might have to jump on the bandwagon.
I believe you can check in until the completion of the game.
Might have to ask you to take over the play-by-play duties again for a moment. This one's popped up towards the first base dugout. That's behind it. So the at-bat continues to McNeil. We'll see how efficient that app really is, if maybe the between-inning break gives me enough time.
Well, 100 points buys you the drawstring backpack. For 25 points, you can buy a glow necklace. 300 points, an FGCU Spirit Band. And if you get 400, you can get a vintage pink shirt. So,
all kinds of opportunities. There you go. The Wings.
So come out and support the Eagles and check in and earn those points. Wilson, like Gilbert, able to drop in that curveball to get ahead of really anybody, and you see it on display there versus Garcia. Trying to get Garcia with the curveball, kind of missing his location, and you saw Garcia a little upset with himself, like he missed a mistake. Real nice job by Alex Brait, staying back on, looked like an off-speed pitch. I'm not sure if it was a curveball just left up or maybe he tried to change up, but Brait able to stay back enough and drop the barrel on it, lace it up the middle for his second hit of the night. And play didn't look overly comfortable for Fago from the start. He was right next to the bag, and it looked like in his mind he was going to gear up and throw it down to second base when probably should have just initially stepped on the bag and tried to throw down to second, try and get the double play that way on the tag, especially with a 2-run lead here in the 8th.
So our first look at Jay Hayes in the batter's box. The 0-1 is another curve that's in for strike 2.
And when your first at bat of the night, you come in and guy drops back-to-back curveballs in like that, it's pretty tough sledding. An interesting third baseman, Jonathan Mayola, he moves over now, but for the first pitch, he was guarding the line as if to guard against no doubles, but in a 2-run game, I think he got word from manager in the dugout that's not the play. The strong curveball we've seen from Wilson, coupled with the fact that Profit's had a tough go of it so far tonight, maybe a little better matchup for Jake Smith, a left-hander, to deal with that curveball and kind of minimize the effectiveness of it. He fouled. Yeah, Jake Smith hit it pretty hard. The second baseman, Bruce Martin, in there defensively as a defensive replacement. Nice turn to get the lead runner and really almost nearly ended the game.
He had to move to his left there, so it was a long feed to second, and they still were almost able to turn it.
And actually somewhat of a risky proposition with the 2-run lead in the 9th. If that throw goes errant, they got all sorts of trouble. And not the easiest play, going to your left to pivot, and give him credit, he made a nice play. Mark Coffers for the second time tonight. Impressive 2-strike hitting, serving that one down the left field line to keep this game alive and give Gage Morey a shot. And with the speed of Coffers, a ball down the line or a ball to the gap, and got to believe that FGCU is going to have an opportunity to tie this game.